when all of this started, like many of you, we were kind of scrambling on what we needed to do differently. And one of the things for us was our staff to start working remotely. And that's not something that we really had done much of. And also went to doing more telehealth services and not doing face-to-face interaction with folks, which was completely different than what we typically operate. And so one of the things for our staff that they struggled with being in rural areas, we travel a lot for our work. And so they felt like they had a lot more time on their hands and weren't sure how to fill that time or what they should be doing. And so we kind of sat down and had a brainstorming session of if I had a support coordinator, what would I want that to look like? And what would I want from that support coordinator? So that developed our vision of what our staff felt that they would want from a support coordinator. And from there, we came up and brainstormed ideas. And we first started with just doing it by life stage and coming up with some things, some new creative things. Like Georgia said, now's an opportunity to be creative. And so we come up with some ways or ideas that we could do across life stage to meet those needs that we had identified. We fast forwarded a couple weeks and we still had staff who felt they were struggling. And so we did a little more in-depth brainstorming and came up with ideas across life domain, very specific things. I think staff are being overwhelmed. We were sending out resources after resources, and it was kind of like, I just need somebody to give me one specific thing to do versus me trying to explore all of these other things. And so we got very specific and came up with ideas across life domain of activities and planning and supports that they could be providing to individuals to help meet their needs. And so that's that center section on this trajectory. And also among that, we, as an administrative team, wanted to make sure that we were adequately supporting our team. We want them to be successful. We wanted them to continue to meet needs of those that they support, and we wanted them to do that effectively. We didn't want there to be unmet needs left laying out there, whether that be our staffs or that of the individuals that we support. Like I said, we started working remotely, so a lot changed with our documentation and our access to information, and so we wanted to make sure that our staff had the ability to access what they wanted. And so we kind of started to think about those buckets and were we providing support and filling those buckets for our staff, and not just giving them information, but also giving them the tangible goods and services they need to do their job, as well as that emotional and peer support. And so we kind of brainstormed, and like Jane, we kind of used multiple principles and thought about the integrated support star to look at what we were doing to meet those needs. And then we kind of marked them or noted them to make sure that we were filling each of those buckets. So we looked at our technology, at the connections, whether that be things in the community or the personal connections there at work, the services and supports section, as well as personal strengths of our staff and ways to help them fill those buckets of our team. And so we categorized each of those areas of the star, but then also noted them to match up with one of the buckets to make sure that we had a good balance.
I want to address a couple of comments in the chat. There's some actually good questions and comments here really briefly. So someone had asked about how this could be adapted for children who are not verbal, whether due to their age or ability. And so one of the suggestions, which I think is wonderful, from Ann Mangelsdorf at the ARC, was perhaps using pictures, either drawings or magazines. And then Catherine actually shared that one of the things that she likes is that sometimes children can draw some of the things. So whether it's a child with a disability or not, they may just want to draw a picture or paste a picture in there, or, you know, I think there's lots of different ways you can use the tools without somebody having to be able to read and write them. So I just wanted to point that out and thank everybody for the comments.